I know people don't usually talk like that, but I want to be one of the greats. I'm inspired by the greats. I'm inspired by the greats here tonight. I'm as inspired by Daniel Day-Lewis, Marlon Brando, and Viola Davis as I am by Michael Jordan and Michael Phelps, and I want to be up there. So I'm deeply grateful to that. This doesn't signify that, but it's a little more fuel, it's a little more ammo to keep going. Thank you so much.
I believe that everybody has the right to be who they are, and Emilia Perez is about truth and it is about love. And I think that us as actors now more than ever before, we really have to tell stories that are beautiful and thought-provoking and live within the spectrum of artistic freedom. Thank you so much. I'm so honored.
And the actor goes to Kieran Culkin.
Thank you for giving me my favorite people in the world. And that's it. Look, that was fast. I told you. Love you, Mom. Bye.
Thank you. That little girl who didn't believe in herself. There's just, the words are kind of beyond me. So I'm just gonna have to just say thank you. Thank you so much.
Best lead performance, Mikey Madison.
And gosh, I don't know, there's so many more people I could thank. Thank you to my amazing team, Anne Woodward, Rachel. Yeah, gosh, thank you. This is amazing. I'm very grateful.
And we can work together. It can be filmmakers, working with agencies, working with financiers, film sales companies, and distributors to make indie film sustainable for creatives and keep indie film alive. And this is for all the indie film lifers who are holding on and fighting the good fight. Thank you so much.
Hello guys, this is Jack, and today we are going to predict the final Oscars. Well, it's not the final Oscars, but if it was, then this is it. It's Jover. But no, seriously, we're going to predict all the categories for the Oscars that are coming up this Sunday. And I want to get like ahead of the curve before, everybody else starts to populate their predictions for the Oscars. I'm going to start with the shorts, and then as I move along, I will get aggressively, defending a lot of the other films that are in this award season and just like in the categories in general. But I hope you guys are holding space for, whatever happens this Sunday. But yeah, I hope you guys, take into account what's happening right now. My predictions are not going to be, perfect or pretty much like in line of like everybody else's. I'm going to take some wild swings here, but that's like the fun of predicting the Oscars. You kind of like have to take, at least one or two big swings in order to kind of, shake things up. But with that being said, let's get into my predictions. And even before I do my predictions, I want to mention the Awards Expert app. I'm on there. Please follow me, like, subscribe, do everything you can to share this video out. And please check out my other videos, especially the ones that I did for, last week for the SAGs, the reactions, and just, keeping up with my predictions for all of the other awards that happened a couple, months end. But let's get started. So starting with the shorts, I'm starting with Best Live Action Short. Going from here, my top 5 is starting with number 1, Alien. Number 2, I'm Not a Robot. Number 3, The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent. Number 4, Anuja. And number 5, The Last Ranger. So I've been talking to several people on the Awards Expert app, Discord, just people in general that I follow. And a lot of people are saying that Alien is the perfect pick to take this shorts award for live action. I think one, because of the subject matter. I saw all of the shorts before, everything got nominated, like the short list for like animated and some documentaries. and some of the other shorts. But Alien was one that stuck out because of its story, which is basically about immigration and what is actually happening right now with ICE. But I also think I'm Not a Robot might actually win here because of its crazy subject matter, plot line, and just how it goes through with the actual plot of the story. But again, I also do think the other three shorts could also take it because of, it being like unpredictable. Like every year when I do the shorts, I have to kind of like close my eyes and like pick which one I want to like choose, because usually 9 times out of 10 I get them wrong. But I think this year I have a clear vision of what is going to happen with the shorts. But Alien, I think, is the standout. I'm Not a Robot is for, the perfect crazy plot. But number 3, The Man Who Could Not Remain is one that I think could also take it because of how simple the story is, and like how it's about like this guy who is trying to help out another person inside of a train, and it's a whole thing. And then Anuja and The Last Ranger are just happy to be there. But I think The Last Ranger could also win because of its half English, half international language barrier. But still, I'm going with Alien for the best live action short. And then for animated short, I'm going Wander to Wonder for number 1. Number 2, The In Shadow of the Cypress, or In the Shadow of the Cypress. Number 3, Beautiful Men. Number 4, Yuck. Number 5, Magic Candies. I think Wander to Wonder is the perfect pick because it won the BAFTA live action short. Sorry, not the live action short, the animated short. And on top of that, I think the concept of these kind of crazy animated characters who are living through what is a television show that used to, be a television show back then, but now is kind of like a deformed television show. I think the concept is pretty cool. The animation's really, really interesting. And I think it's the one that mostly sticks out. But In the Shadow of the Cypress is another one that I think could win here because of its concept alone. And the animation for that one is pretty beautiful. But the rest are up for grabs. I don't know. I think Beautiful Men, it kind of like is my favorite one, I think, a little bit. I'm still struggling which one is like actually my favorite. It's either between those 3, but I think Beautiful Men, the story itself doesn't like completely draw itself out, but I think the animation is really, really cool. And then the last 2 are just, happy to be here, or just kind of cutesy animated shorts. And then for best documentary short, I have at number 1, Death by Numbers. Number 2, The Only Girl in the Orchestra. Number 3, Incident. Number 4, Instruments of a Beating Heart. And number 5, I'm Ready Warden. Death by Numbers was the last one that I checked out before I finished all the shorts. And even though it didn't stick out for me, the plot of it being about like a school shooting is going to help a lot with it winning here. Although I do think every year it's either the like really intense short that wins, or the one that makes you cry, or kind of like makes you, think a lot. The Only Girl in the Orchestra is the one that will make you think and will also make you happy, mainly because it's about a woman who was part of Leonard Bernstein's orchestra and became the best violinist around. But then I think Incident, I think that's the one that should win because of its subject matter. And on top of that, just how experimental the short actually is. It's body cam footage, police footage of a shooting that happened years ago, but there's no, over dramatic music. Instead, it's very straightforward, experimental, dry. It has one point to the end, and it displays a lot about like humanity and how, terrible it is. But Instruments of a Beating Heart and I'm Ready Warden are other 2 documentaries that could, win. I'm Ready Warden is probably the most not fleshed out documentary in my opinion, but the subject matter could also, help a lot. So that's like my top 5 for the best documentary shorts. And then we get to best original song, and this one's like pretty simple. I'm going for El Mal for Emilia Perez. Like, it's been sweeping. There is nothing else I could say about this. If Emilia Perez really was like capped and killed by its controversy, then yeah, of course, you would probably choose The Journey with her and Diane Warren, but it seems like the conversation between, the actual music behind Emilia Perez and, the controversy and everything, it's, kind of like breaking apart. The musical branch likes Emilia Perez. They really enjoy the music. That's why they nominated it twice for El Mal and Mi Camino. But, I think Diane Warren, for once, I understand her being nominated like 20 plus times every year and then just losing out every time for like mid songs kind of like hurts her reputation a little bit. But at the same time, I feel like if we're going to, give Diane Warren the win here, I think it needs to be for a song that is popular, that is really catchy, and is also a part of like a Best Picture contender. The 668 or 6888 wasn't nominated pretty much anywhere else but Best Song, and this always happens with Diane Warren, where she gets nominated for movies that aren't like in contention for, Best Picture or either top of the line categories. So this is going to be another year where Diane Warren just loses again, and you'll see her face just like become angry once she loses again. This time around for, a French-Mexican musical. And then Like a Bird from Sing Sing and Never Too Late by Elton John. Kind of happy to be here, but if they really hated like Emilia Perez just for its like musical merits, then I could see Like a Bird winning here just as like the underdog winner. But that's basically it. That's like my top 5 for Best Original Song. And then for Best Original Score, I have The Brutalist at number 1, number 2, Conclave, number 3, Emilia Perez, number 4, The Wild Robot, number 5, Wicked. The Brutalist has been doing pretty well in terms of winning, score. Conclave, the score in that is actually extremely underrated, especially once the film starts to, progress. You can kind of like feel the motifs of the score as like the plotting and the scheming happens. Emilia Perez, the score is like low-key, like underrated. I really enjoy like the bass motifs and the experimentation of the actual music score around, the musical moments in the film, especially in the second half where it gets really bassy and like ambient.
Entonces, ¿qué soy yo? No la dejaré hacer eso.
Cálmate, tranquila, calma, tranquilízate. Cálmate.
No tengo ni para comer. Me cortó la lana, cerró la llave. No funciona ninguna tarjeta. Todas mis cuentas están bloqueadas. Me quiere robar a mis hijos. Y ahora mi lana.
Cálmate.
Me quiere robar a mis hijos.
Cálmate.
¿Cómo pude casarme con esa perra? ¿Cómo pude casarme con esa ingrata?
Lo hubieras pensado antes. ¿Qué crees?
But also, The Wild Robot is another like underrated nomination here. Even though I haven't really been listening to the score lately, I think it's a good nomination. Wicked, however, this is kind of weird because you have a score that is pretty much anonymous or synonymous and intertwined with the actual, musical set pieces. But it's also one of those scores where it just plays around with like the motifs of the actual existing music compared to it being like a completely original score. And it doesn't make sense because Dune Part 2 was ineligible for the same reason. So I don't understand why Wicked is nominated here and Dune Part 2 is just completely like morbed. But it's whatever. I think The Brutalist is going to take it. Don't be surprised if Conclave takes it if it's going to have like a really good night, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And then we get to Best Sound, starting with Dune Part 2, number 2, Wicked, number 3, A Complete Unknown, number 4, Emilia Perez, and number 5, The Wild Robot. Dune Part 2 is just going to take it. Like, there's another category here that Dune Part 2 is definitely going to take. But again, don't be surprised if Wicked's going to, take it here, mainly because it's a musical and maybe they might want to like do something different around, even though Dune Part 2 is like the, consensus take here. Same with The Complete Unknown. Maybe they have a good night and they're just like a complete unknown. Emilia Perez and The Wild Robot are just happy to be here. But I think Emilia Perez, like the sound in that movie is also kind of underrated. I talked about it when I did the podcast with the Fantasy Film Ball about how the music and like the sound is very unique and really experimental, and it also, benefits the actual emotions of the movie. Even then, I will still go for Dune Part 2. I think the Emilia Perez sound design in that film is really underrated. There's actually several moments where it uses like head tracking technology to, bring the emphasis of all these characters in like one room and you're like following them while, they sing and dance. And I think that's a really cool technique that they used in this movie. But Dune Part 2 is going to win Best Sound. I will lay that down. And then we get to visual effects. And this is another one that I think Dune Part 2 can take it. And I don't have anything too much to say about that. But here's the thing. If Dune Part 2 is kind of like one of those movies where it's just like, oh, we already like awarded it like once. Why not like mix it up and give it to somebody else? I think Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes could, take it. But I think that's another, kind of thing where you're just like, we already gave it to, another Planet of the Apes movie before, so why not another ape movie, which is Better Man, which boasts its visual effects with Robbie Williams, going around in these environments, singing, dancing. And if you've seen the movie, which I hope you guys have, it's fucking fantastic. But there's a moment in the movie where the big set piece in London is just completely digitalized with, choreography, dance, song. It's a crazy sequence, and I think it should win for that alone. Wicked and Alien Romulus, I don't have anything too much to say. I think the Wicked nomination here is kind of a half bag. I think the visual effects in that movie is like half and half. Sometimes it's really good, other times it's just like, kind of looks like it needs a second or third pass, but it's whatever. I'm still going for Dune Part 2 for Best Visual Effects. And then for Best Editing, I have Conclave at number 1, Anora at number 2, Emilia Perez at number 3, The Brutalist at number 4, and Wicked at number 5. Conclave is going to take the Best Editing award. I don't think the correlation this year between the editing and Best Picture is going to work out in its favor this year. At other, seasons when it's pretty clear that, the front runner is this specific film, usually the specific film also wins for Best Editing. I think this year it's going to be a matchup between Conclave and Anora, and I'll explain a little bit later when we get into Best Picture. But Anora at number 2, even, if Conclave falters here, Anora is like the next in line winner. Sean Baker edited this movie himself, and he's always done this for the past couple of years with pretty much, I think, every movie he has done. He has edited his movies himself, and it would be really cool for him to win here if Anora is truly the frontrunner for Best Picture. The reason why I have Emilia Perez at number 3 is because of its experimental editing between some of the musical scenes and the dialogue scenes. There's moments in the film where it does like these crazy like fade-ins and fade-outs between, the dialogue and the music, and the way it stitches itself throughout the film, especially towards the third half of the film. There's a lot of really cool editing tricks that I picked up while I was watching the movie. The Brutalist has the same thing, especially with its opening credits, closing credits, transferring between the first act and the intermission. Pretty cool. I like this nomination. Same with Wicked. I think Wicked, if it was truly, the frontrunner this year, it could have had a chance to win. I think the editing of, the musical and the dialogue, it's a choice. I personally warmed up to it the second time I watched it. It going between, the dialogue and then kind of like going into like the music and then stopping and then starting again. Like, I think for me, it totally worked the second time around. First time I was kind of like frustrated, but I think it is pretty good for its nomination here. But I'm still going for Conclave, no matter what. And then for Best Cinematography, I have The Brutalist at number 1, Dune Part 2 at number 2, Nosferatu at number 3, Maria at number 4, and Emilia Perez at number 5. Brutalist is going to take it, although I think Nosferatu should have been, switched around from 3 to 2. I'm still going to stand by with Dune Part 2 being the second. Runner-up, I think, mainly because the cinematography in that, even though it's kind of the same as the last film, there's actually a lot more oomph to the cinematography, especially the arena scene where it turns into IR cinematography and kind of like monochrome, black and white cinematography. And I think that's a pretty cool scene to kind of like showcase the cinematography in that movie. And then Nosferatu, pretty cool. Maria, very standard for Pablo Larraín to, get his movie nominated for Best Cinematography. It happened the last time for El Conde and Spencer, so happy to be here. Although I think Emilia Perez, it's undeserved for it to be here for Best Cinematography. Although I did actually like the cinematography in the movie because when I watched it in theaters in 35mm, the lighting actually popped even more compared to, watching it at home on Netflix with the HDR on. I think it being, with that like weird kind of blue tint cinematography and like color grading doesn't work in its favor. Only works when you kind of like transfer it from digital to film. I would have preferred Nickel Boys to take Emilia Perez's spot because I think that is like one of the best like cinematography, one of the best cinematography of the year, in my opinion. And on top of that, like the cinematography in that boasts its, first person point of view, really crazy like symmetry with like both of the main characters. And it's just sad that like it's not like nominated here. It's a really egregious snub. But yeah, I think The Brutalist is still going to take the #1 spot for best cinematography. And then for best animated feature, this is actually one of my first big swings here. I might lose this one out, but fuck it. Like I gotta like trust my heart. #1, I have Flow. #2, The Wild Robot. #3, Inside Out 2. #4, Memoir of a Snail. And then #5, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. Even though Flow did not win the Annie, top prize, it only won like the best international feature prize. I don't care. Like, I think Flow is the consensus pick for animated feature because of its international, nomination, which I will go through a little bit later. But on top of that, I think the general consensus behind the movie is its momentum is going like up and up and up and up, especially with its Golden Globe win. I think that win really helped a lot with the visibility behind the movie. Although I do understand that The Wild Robot could win here, especially with its Best Sound nomination. But I don't know. I think Flow, it's the good, pick for animated feature. And I think it would also defeat, once again, the, top studio animated film of this year. It would be really nice to see, a small independent animated film win again this year. But yeah, and the rest are just happy to be here. Inside Out 2, Memoir of a Snail, and Wallace and Gromit. If I was really, cool, which I am, I'm pretty cool, I would also choose Memoir of a Snail as, the winner. But I rewatched Flow just a couple weeks ago and it holds up. And I think it's like a great pick for it to win here. And then next up, I have best makeup and hairstyling, starting with The Substance at #1, #2, Wicked, #3, Nosferatu, #4, Emilia Perez, and then #5, A Different Man. This is another one where I can't really say too much because I think The Substance it's a perfect win here. That movie boasts its makeup and hairstyling in terms of the actual, transformation of Demi Moore, and I will go a little bit deeper into that once we get to Best Actress. It's not really a spoiler with me saying that, but I will explain the, technicality between the makeup hairstyling category and the Best Actress, Best Actor correlation. But I think Wicked, Nosferatu, Emilia Perez, and Different Man, they're slotted perfectly fine here. But I think The Substance is going to take it. There's nothing else to say or argue against it. But yeah, The Substance. And then next up, I have Best Costume Design, starting with Wicked at #1, Nosferatu at #2, Conclave at #3, Gladiator 2 at #4, and A Complete Unknown at #5. This is another one where I'm just like, it's Wicked. The costumes in that movie are straight fire. Like Alphaba, there's a lot of just like costumes that I can like think of in that movie that are just like pristine and perfect and are very like tailored towards all these like characters and actors. But I think Nosferatu is the perfect runner-up here. I think the costumes in Nosferatu are just fucking fantastic and are very period accurate. Same with like Conclave and A Complete Unknown. Gladiator 2 is just like, I don't know why it's here. Gladiator 2, it got morbed, it flopped in terms of like the awards season, but I don't know. I really don't know. But I think Wicked's going to take it here. Don't need to say too much about that. And this next category is another one where I'm just like, yeah, this is probably going to win. Best Production Design, starting with Wicked at #1, The Brutalist at #2, Doom Part 2 at #3, 4 is Conclave, and #5 is Nosferatu. Wicked, even though I think some of the production design isn't like fully utilized in that movie, the cinematography and like the crazy like backlighting in that movie, but I think when it is in use, it's fucking fantastic. And like the set design between, the actual Emerald City being kind of like this really like fun and livable city, I think that's like the perfect, let's like give it that win for that. And then just like the castle, the other, you know, production design quirks, like planning like millions or like thousands of flowers to, you know, make Oz as like this like magical land. But The Brutalist at number 2, watch out, because I think the boast of it being like a $10 million film that looks like a $100 million film is like a good narrative, in my opinion. Dune Part 2 is kind of like happy to be here. I don't think it will win here because it's just like, hey man, we already gave, you know, an award for, you know, the first part long time ago, so it's just like whatever. Conclave and Nosferatu are just like happy to be here. Although I think Conclave recreating the Vatican from the inside and outside is pretty fucking cool. But production design is going to go for Wicked, in my opinion. And then best documentary feature. This is another big swing that I could either lose out or, you know, could win big here. For number 1, I have No Other Land. Number 2, Sugarcane. Number 3, Porcelain War. Number 4, Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat. And then number 5, Black Box Diaries. All of these documentaries are great. I think Porcelain War is probably the weakest one here. But even then, I think all of these documentaries are great. No Other Land, the reason why I have it here at number 1 is because of its momentum and visibility in terms of like talking about the movie. It does not have a distributor, which is kind of fucking weird, but at the same time it isn't because of its subject matter. And if it gets nominated here, if it got, you know, the nomination here, why not have it like win? But if you really want to like bet against No Other Land, you have to, you know, choose Sugarcane because of its distributor, Nat Geo, which are pretty good at getting wins for their documentaries. If I remember correctly, Free Solo won a couple years ago, and that was a Nat Geo documentary, and they campaigned pretty hard for that movie. And I can see Sugarcane winning here. And I've been seeing a lot of ads for Sugarcane even after I watched it. They're doing a pretty good job getting the movie out there. But those are the 2, and then the rest are happy to be here. Although I think Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat would be a really nice win, even though I think the movie kind of like runs its course towards the end of the film. But that's like my picks. That's like my kind of big swing pick for best documentary feature. Okay, so this category is going to be kind of hard to pick, but not really. But you know what? This is one where I'm just like, fuck it. Like, I gotta like pull out my big dick and choose something that might actually win here because of its, you know, discussions, I should say. So starting with best international feature, number 1, I have I'm Still Here. Number 2, Emilia Perez. Number 3, The Seed of a Sacred Fig. Number 4, Flow. And then number 5, The Girl with the Needle. Listen here. I understand that Emilia Perez could, you know, and actually could take it. But I'm going with I'm Still Here. Like, I really don't care. Like, I think the passion for that movie, it's peaking. It's going super high. The controversy of Emilia Perez hurt itself a lot, to the point where it could only win at least 2 or 3 prizes. I think the third prize is not going to be Best International Feature. I think the internet, you know, chatter behind Emilia Perez hurt, you know, this film a lot. And on top of that, the internet, you know, chatter transcended to the trades. Variety, Hollywood Reporter were reporting about, you know, the controversies, even with, you know, the language, the Carla tweets. Just everything around it is just negative. That's why I have I'm Still Here at number 1. Again, the passion for that movie is super high on the internet, and what I'm reading from like the anonymous ballots, it's half and half. People are going, okay, well, controversy, it's whatever. I'm still going to choose, you know, Emilia Perez, like, fuck the haters. But also, other people are, you know, choosing I'm Still Here. And another thing that I will mention once we get to the super top categories. But me personally, I think Emilia Perez is going to, you know, take it. It's going to win. But my heart has to, you know, follow something that's very passionate. And I'm going with I'm Still Here. And I could lose this, you know, bet. I'm not betting any money, but it could, you know, hurt a little bit of my percentage with the Awards Expert app. But I don't really care. I think this is it. And I'm Still Here is going to be here for Best International Feature. And there's nothing y'all can do about it. And then Best Adapted Screenplay. This is another one where I'm just like, okay, easy win. Conclave, been doing pretty well everywhere else. Nickel Boys at number 2, Sing Sing at number 3, Emilia Perez at number 4, A Complete Unknown at number 5. I think the reason why I have Emilia Perez a little bit upper than A Complete Unknown is because of its experimentation with the dialogue. I don't know if it uses AI. It kind of feels like it, but it's also very experimental and kind of feels, unique compared to some other nominations in this category, aside from Nickel Boys, which Nickel Boys is just, it's happy to be here, but also it should be fucking winning. Like, it should be winning. Like, oh my God. I will talk a little bit later about, the last Best Picture category, but Conclave's taking it here. There's no arguments to be had with it. I would like to read some other, takes on it, but it's Conclave. Best Original Screenplay, number 1, I have Anora. Number 2, A Real Pain. Number 3, The Brutalist. Number 4, The Substance. And number 5, September 5. We don't need to talk about September 5. I've already talked about the movie on my channel. I hate this nomination. I think it's a wote Best Original Screenplay nomination in quite a while. Like, I'm trying to remember another original screenplay nomination was just that made me super angry. But yeah, we don't need to talk about September 5. I think The Substance is extremely underrated to win here. It did win the Cannes Award for Best Original Screenplay back in the spring. It would be really cool for it to win. The Brutalist is another one that would be really cool to win. The last two, Anora and A Real Pain, they're kind of fighting with each other. A Real Pain did pretty well at the Film Independent Spirits, and I think also the BAFTAs, if I remember correctly. The BAFTAs were last week. My brain is all over the place. It's super mushy. But I think if Anora is going to have a really good night, why not give it to Sean Baker? He crafted a really fantastic original screenplay that is distant and away from other, original screenplays that aren't, entirely original, September 5. But yeah, I think Anora makes perfect sense if it's going to win Best Picture. And then Best Supporting Actor, no need to say anything. It's Kieran Culkin. Raw, next question. But also, Guy Pearce could also upset if it was another year, but it's a Kieran Culkin sweep, so ain't gonna happen. You're Borisov for Anora at number 3, Edward Norton at number 4, and number 5, Jeremy Strong from The Apprentice. Again, don't need to say too much about this category. I would have preferred Guy Pearce to win, but beggars be choosers. So Best Supporting Actress. This is another one that is super easy to pick. So starting with number 1, Zoe Saldana for Emilia Perez. Number 2, Ariana Grande for Wicked. Number 3, Isabella Rossellini for Conclave. Number 4, Felicity Jones for The Brutalist. And number 5, Monica Barbaro for A Complete Unknown. Listen, guys, I understand that Ariana Grande could have, won here. She had the chance at the Critics' Choice. She had the chance at the BAFTAs. And she definitely had a chance at the SAGs. But she was denied multiple times with every chance that she could take and every path she could have taken with winning at least one televised award. But everybody collectively said, no, this is Zoe Saldana's year and her time. And again, I understand Emilia Perez, the controversy is too high, too crazy, but left unscathed is Zoe Saldana and her path and her journey well into this award season. Her narrative is pretty strong with her, being in these blockbuster movies for multiple, years, and her starring this movie where she's doing something that she's done before but hasn't been seen in quite a while in terms of her singing and dancing and speaking Spanish. Yeah, that will help a lot with your narrative. And on top of that, somebody who's an established actress compared to Ariana Grande, who is pretty much happy to be here and is basically her introduction into big blockbuster cinema. And she might have a chance next year for the second part of Wicked, but who knows? Depends on how the season goes next year. Isabella Rossellini is kind of a spoiler pick, mainly because I think if Conclave is going to win Best Picture, it needs to at least win something that's super top category. And Isabella Rossellini, although she has limited screen time in the movie, kind of makes sense. It could be kind of Judi Dench, type of thing. Although I think Isabella Rossellini, her career narrative totally works out in the end. Felicity Jones and Monica Barbaro, happy to be here. Felicity Jones earlier in the season was kind of like starting to fall apart with nominations, but her getting the nomination here is just, it's fucking nice. I prefer, Felicity Jones to win compared to these other, women in the movie, in my opinion. I might be spitting fire, but I'm probably not spitting, fire with it. But it's going to be Zoe. No questions asked. Fight me in the comments. And then we get to Best Actor, starting with Adrian Brody for The Brutalist. Number 2, Timothée Chalamet for A Complete Unknown. Number 3, Ralph Fiennes for Conclave. Number 4, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing. And number 5, Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice. I actually forgot to mention the, charts of the winners of all of the, televised categories in terms of Best Actor, Best Actress, Supporting Actor, Supporting Actress. Again, Zoe Saldana sweeping everywhere. She's going to take it. Kieran Culkin also as well. But for Best Actor, the split was kind of like all over the place. Not entirely, but it started out with Sebastian Stan and Adrian Brody taking the Golden Globe. And then, Adrian Brody, walking along, getting to like the Critics' Choice and like the BAFTA and winning those. And then Timothée Chalamet just like comes out of nowhere and just whacks him in the fucking face at the SAGs. And now I'm just kind of just like, wait a minute. Does Timothée Chalamet have a chance here? Now, hold up. I think if we are going to, predict Timothée Chalamet to win, you also have to remember that the SAGs took place after, everything around the Brutalist AI controversy. And then just like on top of that, the voting for the Oscars closed immediately before the televised SAG event. And by the time, you get to see Timothée Chalamet take his, SAG and do the speech, it doesn't make a difference compared to, a couple years ago where, the SAGs would take before the Oscar voting, begins and ends. So now it's just like, okay, I'm still going for Adrian Brody to win, but that's 10 or 12% of like actors who are a part of, the branch, the acting branch, and are also part of like the Screen Actor Guild. Are they actually fully going for Timothée Chalamet, or are they still sticking with Adrian Brody no matter what? My answer to that is I'm still going with Adrian Brody because he's just been visible. He's been doing all the speeches. He has the narrative, kind of like the comeback narrative of being in a movie that is a drama and is very visible. And it's another like performance where he's like fully committed to it and committed to the bit. But Timothée Chalamet is the same thing. Like he's playing, a real life figure. He's singing. He's playing the instruments. He's very subdued, and you see a lot of, range of emotions aside from like crying with his character. But I think again, Adrian Brody is still going to take it. It's pretty safe. I think it's just like one swing and one curveball this season. But if Timothée Chalamet takes it, I'll be really happy because I think Timothy, his like journey into, becoming like the top prestige actor in Hollywood is just, it's so fucking nice. Like he's been in like a lot of these like genre bending movies, from like dramas, from a musical biopic, sci-fi, straight dramas, coming of age movies. Like he's been like in the know for years, and for him to win here would be fucking nice. And he would be like the youngest actor to win compared to Adrian Brody from the last time where he won for The Pianist. I think, was it Timothée Chalamet is just 8 months shy from, being 30 compared to when Adrian Brody was, 29 around that time. So it would be really cool. But other than that, Ralph Fiennes, really bad pronunciations. I am really bad with that. Rafe Fiennes, Conclave. I don't know. Really depends on like if Conclave will take, Best Picture. Why not give it to Ralph Fiennes? Coleman Domingo is really like happy to be here, and Sebastian Stan also as well. I can't believe Coleman Domingo, he just lost it out. Again, Sing Sing, I will talk about, the Best Picture category pretty soon, but he should be winning here. What happened? I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then we get to Best Actress, and this is another one where it could go either way. I kind of have to like take a little like peek and see if, one of these two women could win, and then the rest are, super happy to be here. I don't know why like the 5th slot here is at the 5th slot. I could actually, swap it around at number 3. So don't mind the screenshot here. But Demi Moore, The Substance, she took it at Critics' Choice. She took it at SAG. She took it at the Golden Globe. She lost at BAFTA for Mikey Madison. But that doesn't matter. I think the narrative of Demi Moore, her coming back for a big swing movie, a genre in which is very underdeserved and underappreciated at the Academy Awards, also helps a lot because over the past couple of years, they've been very attentive and emotional towards genre-bending films, especially Best Actress winners who are in like genre-bending films like, you know, Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and then just last year with Emma Stone for Poor Things. So all that, you take all that into account. You take Demi Moore's, you know, stature in Hollywood. You take her career. You take her age, which is the movie itself is satirizing the notion of Hollywood, you know, snubbing older actresses over younger actresses. You take just basically everything, and you can tell that like Demi Moore is going to take it. But Mikey Madison is just like, you know, peeking around, waiting for her next move. And Mikey Madison took the BAFTA, and Anora has a big chance of winning, you know, Best Picture. So why not like give it to Mikey Madison, who is literally the titular character of the movie called Nora? Makes sense? Doesn't make sense? I don't know. This is like kind of like ruining my brain because I think Mikey Madison has a chance to steal it from Demi Moore. But it wouldn't make sense because this is her first nomination and, you know, she might have more chances. But again, I hate, you know, the notion of like, oh, this is like the first, you know, young, you know, actor-actress nomination. Let's, you know, give them the nomination and, you know, keep a lookout for, you know, the next couple of years where they can win in a bigger movie. But Nora's the bigger movie. So what's going on here? Don't know why I have Carla at number 3. Maybe because I wanted to like give you some shits and giggles. But I think it's probably because I haven't updated it since January 19th, but could stay the same if my line of thinking with, you know, Emilia Perez getting 13 nominations, like it would be hilarious for Carla Sofia Garçon to win. Really hilarious. It would cause a lot of like internet chatter and chaos. People might storm, you know, the Oscar Capitol. Things will happen, but low-key, I kind of want it to happen because it would be hilarious. But no, I'm not going to like manifest that. The real number 3 is actually Fernanda Torres for I'm Still Here. Again, don't mind the screenshot. Placements are kind of all over the place, but let's talk about, you know, Fernanda Torres a little bit. I think her path is pretty strange, but at the same time, it can kind of work out at the end because the passion behind I'm Still Here, like I mentioned at, you know, the international feature category prediction, I predicted I'm Still Here, you know, to take it for international feature. Why not give it to Fernanda Torres with that package, that combo? I think the momentum behind her, you know, narrative and discussions behind her film are surging, and it's been surging since the Golden Globe win for her. And if, you know, Demi Moore and Mikey Madison are just like fighting it out for like the top spot, and, you know, people are being like overwhelmed by, you know, those top 2 choices and want to go like completely different or something that's, you know, actually traditional to the Oscars, because both, you know, Demi Moore and Mikey Madison, they're kind of in like movies where you never expected them to like win for like their set films. I mean, back then, you know, before the Parasite win, where it started to invite a lot of international voters to the Academy. I think Fernanda Torres has a really good shot of just like taking it because of like the canceling out between Demi Moore and Mikey Madison. And even so, Carla Sofia Garçon, because of, you know, the backlash behind the movie and, you know, the controversy behind her tweets. Then yet again, I do have to wonder, I think the Fernanda Torres nomination is or could just be, you know, the win itself. Cynthia Erivo, nice nomination here. Don't think she's going to win here. She could have a chance next time around for the second part. But just like going back to Fernanda Torres, personally for me, I'd be really happy for her to win. I saw the movie again just, you know, a couple weeks ago, and I had a better time watching it, mainly because I wasn't like sleep deprived, and I kind of like paid more attention to the direction behind that film. And on top of that, like I read more about like the Brazil history and what was happening around that time. It was a dictatorship, not a communist regime takeover. I apologize for, you know, that small misinformation. But I think Fernanda Torres, like her performance in that movie really shines, and it's a very traditional Oscar-winning performance in my opinion. But I'm still going for Demi Moore because the package is there, and she won basically what she needs to win to, you know, win Best Actress. But again, this year, I think the lone, you know, Mikey Madison BAFTA win could kind of help Mikey Madison win for Best Actress, but who knows? This season has been just like all over the place and very nail-biting. And from one homosexual man to another, I don't like to pit, women for, anything, but I'm pitting, Demi Moore over Mikey Madison. So we'll see. And then we get to Best Director. Sean Baker, number 1 for Anora. The Brutalist at number 2 for Brady Corbett. Jacques Audiard, number 3 for Emilia Perez. Number 4, The Substance for Caroline Foy. And number 5, A Complete Unknown for James Mangold. So with the Best Director nominations, Sean Baker took the DGA. Makes sense for him to win here. Brady Corbett, earlier in the season, I actually thought that he could, take the Best Director award because of the narrative of his film being under $10 million and it looks like a $100 million movie. And just on top of that, he's been in the industry for a long time as an actor turned director. But Sean Baker has been boiling to this point in his career for years, especially since, the Florida Project was a big contender the last time around, although he wasn't nominated that year. But it kind of kept, a little distance and eye towards Sean Baker for what he was going to do next. Didn't work out for Red Rocket, but Anora seems like the perfect choice for him to win. And the speech he did at the Film Independent Spirits Awards was really fucking nice. And I think that speaks a lot to indie directors in the director's branch at the Academy. They see, the speech, and even though Film Independent Spirit voting pool kind of started, way before, the Oscar voting eligibility started, I think that speech will help and benefit, the directors who choose Sean Baker for the win compared to Brady Corbett. That's my thinking. But who knows? I think Brady Corbett could take it also as well. I wouldn't be surprised and I wouldn't be shocked. And I would be very happy for Brady Corbett to win. The reason why I have Jacques at number 3 is this was kind of updated back in February where I was just okay, so 13 nominations for Emilia Perez. Really strong, showing. And it seems like they really love this movie. But, controversy happened. Again, reiterating the tweets, and just Jacques Audiard's comments with the Spanish language, and just the attention to the movie behind its representation of trans and Mexican life is going to hurt him a lot. But I did read a lot of the anonymous ballots, and a lot of them were voting for Jacques Audiard, those ballots, the anonymous ballots. So it's just they don't care about the controversy, they don't care about, the chatter on the internet. So that's why I think number 3 is kind of the weird, ranking over here. But Caroline Foy for The Substance and James Mangold for A Complete Unknown, kind of swapping around with those last two. But I think her nomination here is fucking nice. And her, behind the scenes videos of her, directing the movie was pretty cool. And I think the whole, Substance campaign with Mubi frontlining the campaign, they've been doing pretty well with, laying it out for Demi Moore and Caroline Farja's direction for the movie. So yeah, it's a pretty cool thing. And James Mangold, I know a lot of people are just why not Ramel Ross for, Best Director? And yeah, Ramel Ross should have been, the nomination, the 5th slot here. But James Mangold, his career has been mostly just movies for dads and old people. And it's just really nice for him to finally get that nomination. I like A Complete Unknown. I think the movie's great. And even though the movie itself is not showy with its direction, it did a really good job with its nominations, and why not give it to James Mangold? And he did get the DGA nomination, so that was the indicator for him to get nominated here. So I'm still going for Sean Baker, but Brady Corbett, watch out. And finally, we get to Best Picture. Rounding out the 10 is Anora, Conclave, The Brutalist, Wicked, I'm Still Here, Dune Part 2, A Complete Unknown, The Substance, Nickel Boys, and Emilia Perez. So Conclave won the SAG Ensemble just last week, and it raised a little bit of my eyebrows, the first one, not the other side, but just they actually liked Conclave. They also really liked it at the BAFTAs. So I'm just should I really go for Conclave here, even though it did not win, BA, DGA, or PGA? Instead, it was Anora. Anora took all those 3. It didn't do pretty well at the Critics' Choice. It only won, Best Picture there. And it lost out at the SAGs. Like, it got smoked by Conclave, which was really strange because everybody was like, oh, it could win ensemble and, you know, actress. But it didn't. So it's just like, what do I do here? My heart still goes for Anora because of the guild trifecta. And just on top of that, I think it winning just, you know, the Critics' Choice and Mikey Madison winning the BAFTA and the trifecta for the guilds has like more strength to me than Conclave, you know, just taking BAFTA for ensemble and then just SAG for ensemble. Like, I think that's like my way of thinking compared to other people. But the way I think the season is going and coming to an end, it kind of makes sense for me to pick Anora and like choose my heart for it. Even though I think Mikey Madison could lose, you know, the Best Actress award. But that's what I'm, you know, thinking about in terms of the number one spot. So Conclave is, you know, the consensus number 2 spot. Number 3, The Brutalist. Could have been The Brutalist. It won at like the Golden Globes first and then kind of just like started to fall apart. Actually, scratch that. I was like about to say that like The Brutalist didn't win the Golden Globe, but it did. That's why how long, you know, the season has been playing out for the past couple months. Like, it's just been crazy. But yeah, like The Brutalist, it could have been. It really could have been. We could have had like, you know, Brady Corbett winning, but who knows? It would be weird for it to just like win without the guild support and then like no director. Like, that would be like really weird. But it could be, you know, the same thing with like Conclave, but Conclave is more stronger because of the BAFTA ensemble win and the SAG win. And then number 4, Wicked, could have been winning, but everyone was just like, yeah, let's just nominate it for a lot of stuff and just like dip out because, you know, part 2 is going to happen next year. I'm still here, is just happy to be here. Personally, for me, it would be really cool for it to win, but what I've been reading with like the anonymous ballots, it's just been kind of like number 4, number 5 for a lot of voters. And then people, you know, hope dicking, can't say the word. But for, you know, Fernanda Torres to take the Best Actress award would be nice. I explained it earlier, but yeah. And then the rest, top 5 are super cool to be here. Emilia Perez should have been, you know, the one, but controversy killed it, ruined everything. And I'm laughing because in another alternate universe, Emilia Perez could have like swept the Oscars and could have, you know, pissed a lot of people off without, you know, the Carla tweets, like the controversy behind the language barrier of the director and the audience itself. It wouldn't hurt it. Instead, it would have, you know, won anyways, no matter what the controversy is. But that alternate universe has been shattered, and now the alternate universe that we have, the real universe, is probably going to go for Anora, and I'm super happy. Like, this is going to be really fun for it to win Best Picture, potentially Best Actress, definitely Best Director, and probably Best Original Screenplay, and maybe editing. Good combo. Great combo. Fucking love it. I'm going to be very ecstatic for Anora to win. And I hope you guys, you know, enjoy this video. I will be reacting to the Oscars. It may take a few days after I record the reactions because a lot of stuff are happening. A lot of like changes are going to happen, especially with this channel. But I will explain, you know, later after I record the reactions and like the moving forward of the race and like what's going to happen next year. But stick around. Hope you guys enjoy this video. Peace out.